Good afternoon. Welcome to another edition of My Political Truth. My name is Gerry Tomchinsky, and today I am joined by two very special guests. I have Linda Ivell here running for Republican State Committeewoman, and Gerry Wells running for City Commission in Sarasota. I will pass it off to Linda first. Linda, please tell us a little bit about yourself, what you're running for, when your election is, and we'll take it from there.
Well, my election, my final election, will be in the primary because only Republicans can run for Republican State Committeewoman. And what will happen is the Republican State Committeewoman is one of three people from Manatee County that represent Manatee Republicans on the state committee. So basically, what you're looking for is somebody who understands how the party system works. Is, you know, if you're a conservative Republican, you want a conservative Republican in this, and basically somebody that's had a lot of experience. I've been in politics for over 40 years as a Republican activist. I'm a conservative. I'm absolutely pro-Second Amendment. I'm a lifetime NRA member. I'm pro-life. I'm happy to have received the endorsement of Personhood Florida, which is solely focused on the sanctity of life. And I have worked in a multitude of states doing everything from walking door to door, taking out the trash in campaign headquarters, to managing multi-million-dollar campaigns. So I try and keep up on the latest things going on, and I'm not afraid to do hard work. And I think that is what Manatee County is looking for in a Republican committeewoman. So if that's what you're looking for, I'm your girl.
Absolutely. Just to clarify for us, Linda, what cities are included in Manatee County so my audience has a clarification of that, because not everybody that watches is from Florida.
Well, Bradenton, Palmetto, basically everything just north of the Sarasota County area. So it's Central Florida. It's sort of on the tail end of the I-4 high-tech corridor, which is always very, very important in Republican elections. And certainly this year's not going to be any different. So we have a strong Republican county. We got to keep it that way.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. Gerry, you're on, pal.
Linda has my vote.
Mine as well.
If only you lived in my county.
I know I can't vote for you because I'm down in Sarasota County.
That's okay. Call your friends.
Believe me, I will. And we have a lot of people interested in what we have to say. And like you, I've been involved for a little while, but nowhere near as long. My background is that I'm from New York, like Gerry, and we became instant friends through that connection. And 8 years ago, we moved down here full time. My family's been in Sarasota over 30 years. My dad was a police officer. My mom was a school teacher. Very middle class family. And so I have the exact same values you have: hard work, and that's how you get ahead. And so I'm very distraught of what I saw here as things are happening. I mean, we have 5 commissioners. People don't realize, but we have 5 commissioners. And even though it's a nonpartisan race, all 5 sit on one side of the table. And anytime you have that, you're out of balance, out of whack. And if you ever take a minute to watch a commission meeting down here, I know it's hard because you have so much going on at the state level, but it really is a dysfunctional classroom of second grade students. And you have 5 commissioners, 3 are attorneys, 1 is a postal worker, and 1 is an artist. So no one understands the budget. They look at it and be like, if I were looking at Chinese, either you can read mathematics or you can't. And that's a big hindrance that we're dealing with down here because there's no fiscal responsibility. So there's been a number of reasons that I'm coming up and stepping up to the plate, but that's just the start of it. I could really go on all day. As Gerry knows, we discussed this at length because he's also in Sarasota, the county itself. And it's very frustrating when you watch this occur. And I understand what you're doing, and I really appreciate it to have another conservative, responsible adult step up. And you and I both know that this process is exhausting and time consuming, and it's almost thankless, right? That joke of how do you make a small fortune in politics is you start with a big one, because it's expensive and you're donating it. In my case, I'm donating 100% of the salary back to local charities. And like you, I have the Christian Family Coalition endorsement, and that represents a very special set of values for a candidate. That's, in my opinion, the most important endorsement you could have down here in the city. And you look at other endorsements, the way they're handed out, and they become political favors. But core values never change. And that's something we really need to bring back to politics. And that's a big thing that we see that's lacking here.
Absolutely. I want to touch on something you just said. I actually wrote it down because I thought it was a great way of describing these people. You said they're a dysfunctional committee of second grade students. I think that is spot on. And I think, I think that encompasses the entirety of today's Democratic Party, because it seems like if they don't get their way, all we hear is crying, complaining, moaning, and blame everybody, including and first and foremost President Trump. And I want to hear from both of you, and we'll start with Gerry this time. What do you think can be attributed to the Democratic Party turning into what they have turned into? Because honestly, in my opinion, they're on par with the Chinese Communist Party with what they're doing.
I agree with you, Gerry. It's not the Democratic Party that I knew growing up, and I'm 60 years old, so I've seen a lot of this, and this radicalized push to the left. It's sad to watch it unfold, because the culture now is, if you don't agree with their train of thought, they become violent, they're bullies, they're aggressive, and it's a shame, because that will erode the fabric of what makes America. I have no problem getting into a discussion, even a discussion that can become heated at times, because both sides are passionate. But where I draw the line is with this violence, and it's going on too long. They seem to be getting away with it. And as far as blaming Donald Trump for everything, now, you and I are from New York. Mm-hmm. Donald Trump has a very, very, hold on, let me get rid of that. You there? Someone tried to call in. I'm doing it from my phone for acoustics. President Trump is very New Yorker in his attitude. Mm-hmm. And you either love that or you don't get it. And there's New Yorkers that don't get it. But this man is wildly successful, and he loves this country. And I think he may go down in history as the greatest president ever. There's no doubt in my mind. He stepped up to the plate. He's already worth billions of dollars, completely different than prior presidents who came in with no money. And we know exactly who I'm talking about. Came in with 2 nickels, never had a real job. And 10 years later is worth $200 to $300 million, getting $50 million contracts in industries they know nothing about. So that really says it all. This attacking of President Trump is beyond. And I think at this election, people will be very surprised. I think that we are the silent, patient majority, and we will come out and vote. And I don't think that the snowflakes will come out, especially if you have a rainy or cold day. They're not going to get excited about their candidate. We don't even know who his vice president is going to be yet. They won't let the guy come in front of anyone and speak, because if he does, you realize right away he doesn't know what day it is. He doesn't even know what cities he's in. Yeah, so this is them, again, just lashing out like wild, spoiled children, and it's across the whole party.
Yeah, absolutely. Linda, what about you? What do you think?
Well, I think I have so much respect for our president, and I'm not from New York, as you can tell with my accent, and so sometimes he says things that maybe as an old press secretary I would have phrased differently for him. But this man is courageous, and I think you can tell how much he loves what he's doing and how much he loves his country. Because if you look back at other presidents, of a picture when they got elected and a picture after 4 years, they've aged 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
Not this guy. I think he looks better now than when he got elected. So I have a lot of respect for him. I have to tell you a story. I worked the gun show this weekend with the Republican Party. We were registering all voters. We didn't discriminate against voters. And just toward the end on Sunday, there were 4 young black men leaving. And so I went and talked to one of them. And I said, are y'all registered to vote? And he said, well, he's not. And so we tried to get him to register, and one of his friends. And then he said, but I need to change my registration. And I thought, oh, that's wonderful news, right? And so as he was filling out his form, I'm talking to him, and I said, what prompted you to change your registration? Is it, you must really like Trump? He goes, well, I like Trump, but that's not the reason. And I said, oh, it's because of Second Amendment rights. You're here at the gun show, and we're Second Amendment. He says, no, it's not that. He said, I have family who live in cities that are run by Democrat mayors that are not safe. And he said, I was just telling my buddies, we need to look at things differently. We need to look at who is really watching out for us. And he changed his registration. So that made me feel so good about his age group and everything, that they're questioning a lot of things. And I think that's going to help the Republican Party grow and be stronger, because it's not just people with my complexion that are pro-life and Christian and conservatives. They just didn't feel like they had a place before. That's part of the reason I'm running. I want to make sure that everybody knows, if they think like us, we don't care about anything else. They're part of us, and we want to welcome them in the party. I think it's a really, really important time in the growth of the Republican Party.
I agree 100%. And, to follow up on what you just said, I think it's, I don't know if you heard about the Walk Away campaign that's been going on for a couple of years now. It's basically, you could look it up on Facebook. They have their own page. It is just all the people that have walked away from the Democratic Party in the last couple of years. And nationwide, it's up to like 500,000 that have walked away.
Well, we want them to walk on our side.
Yeah, absolutely.
We can use their help and their input.
Yeah, I agree. And you know what? I don't so much think, at least the lifelong Democrats that are switching over now, I don't think so much that they agree with all of the policies on the conservative side, but I believe those are the moderates, and the Democrats have lost the moderates. And if they haven't lost them all, they're in the process of losing them, because the way they're behaving, the violence that they're allowing, the violence that they're disregarding, people don't want to live in a lawless society, whether you're Democrat, Republican, Independent, Tea Party. I don't care what you are. You don't want to live in a lawless society where these savages, and forgive me for saying that's what they are, they're savages. They're paid, basically chaos implementers. That's what I think they are. And it's completely unacceptable.
And for somebody to pick their party according to who can make them safer is really a sad thing about the state of affairs of our country right now. There was a time when political parties were about differing opinions, but now it's about safety. And that's something we have to take action on.
Absolutely.
I think, Linda, if I can say, I think you're both hitting it right on the head. But it's now gone further than that. It's national security, because our president is stepping up to the plate now, and he is not letting China come in here and steal our secrets and technology and all of our intellectual property. And they're planning against us, period, the end. Russia is not the threat. That's a small little economic country when you look at the scope of things, right? What does Russia really have to export? Oil and natural gas. Now, under President Trump, we're the #1 producer of oil and natural gas, the #1 exporter in the world of natural gas. So this really becomes, what are we manufacturing in China? And we saw it, all of us, firsthand, when this Chinese Wuhan virus hit us like a ton of bricks. We didn't have even machinery to make masks. We were dependent on getting equipment and medical supplies from China, and our president is putting an end to that. So I think you're both hitting the nail on the head, and I want to take it one step further. It's about national security.
Without a doubt. I mean, we can easily, and the Department of Homeland Security, I think they are trying to do this, but the Democrats keep jumping in, but they want to label Black Lives Matter the capital letters, not the lowercase letters. The organization itself, they want to label Black Lives Matter as a terrorist organization, along with Antifa, and rightfully so. Look at what's going on in Portland. They want to literally deny. I was just telling Linda before you came on, Gerry, about, I don't know if you saw what Jerry Nadler said when he was approached on the street by a reporter in DC. I think this was Sunday morning. The reporter asks him, what do you think about what's going on in Portland and Antifa, creating these riots? He said, Antifa's a myth that is only perpetuated in Washington, D.C. He said this on camera. I could not believe it. And nobody's calling him to task on this. They tried to call him, A.G. Barr tried to call him on that today. And of course, he was completely interrupted. But that's another story. That whole testimony was a dog and pony show. But if we don't have, the right people in place to take down these organizations, we're going to have a very big problem. And what you were saying, going back to the energy reliance that we used to have, we don't have that anymore. If, God forbid, Biden or any other Democrat, which at the end of the day, I don't think it's going to be Biden that's going to be running for president, but I think any Democrat that gets in, they want to implement this Green New Deal that, again, makes us completely energy dependent. It's going to cost $94 trillion over the next 10 years. And it's going to break a country that is already at the breaking point because of this Wuhan virus, this China virus. And it's completely unacceptable, completely unacceptable. Gerry,
Well,
to continue on what you were saying about it's a national security issue. I do want to talk about local security. And Linda, we'll go to you first on this. What improvements, if any, do you think our local police or sheriff departments can make? Like, in my opinion, I think it's not about defunding. I think it's about reinvesting. I want to hear what you both have to think about that.
I'm impressed with law enforcement here. We had a number of peaceful demonstrations after the Floyd incident. We were all upset about that. Mm-hmm. And I think that for the most part, it was handled very well here. I think that we're lucky to live in a safe area. And I want that for all Americans. I wish I had the power to make that happen, but it happens by electing the right people to be sheriffs, to make sure that they have the community outreach all the time. And then when we're under stressful situations like this, that community outreach pays off for us. And I think it did here. I think that for the most part, we had very few incidents, and I think they were handled. Law and order was maintained. I don't think that people felt like their right to voice their opinion was infringed on. And I felt very positively about that. I wish it had been like that in places like Atlanta and Seattle and places like, we lost children. And if Black Lives Matter, why don't the lives of those Black children who were killed, why isn't that important? That's the thing that I just don't get, the disconnect for me. All lives matter, and that is not a racist statement. It's only a racist statement if you have to put a color or an adjective in front of that. We're all important. We're all put on this earth by God for a reason, and we just need to respect each other. And I think that would solve a lot of our problems.
100%. I couldn't agree with you more, Linda. Gerry?
I couldn't agree with Linda more either. It's in reference to defunding the police. And so for me, this is a loaded question. My dad was a police officer, so I'm the son of a police officer. And I know exactly what it is to have a New York City police officer leave your home with a gun on his hip and your mother saying, I hope he comes home safe. I was a little boy. That's my dad. This disrespect of the police officers make my blood boil. And this talk, this democratic mantra of defunding the police, they have no idea what they're talking about. My business has taken me into the Middle East. I was in the energy business for over 40 years. I've been in and out of the Middle East. I've been to Russia. I've been to China. I've been to Japan. I can tell you, you go into China, I'll show you police that won't respect you. They'll smack you around. You open your mouth, they'll split your head open. They'll run you over with a tank. That's a different kind of police officer. What's happening here is that our police officers are getting painted as bad guys, and they're not. And so what we need to do is not take money away from the police department. The answer is to infuse more money and build up a bigger, stronger law enforcement department and offer the men courses. If you're concerned, like my dad, he came out of the military and went to college at night and was a police officer in the day, basically. That was our life for many years. If you're concerned about the police officers, offer them educational courses, have instruction, get them trained in other areas. It'll help them, you'll give them tools on how to deal with things. Now down here, we had a different situation. Our situation was that because our city commission is all leaning in one direction, the direction I'm not. On July 4th, we had a protest here, and if you're familiar with Sarasota, we have one major bridge on and off Lido and Longboat and St. Armand's and Anna Maria Key. A lot of people out here. It's July 4th weekend. It's a big weekend. They had no permit to march in the street. And our city manager, who leans the same way as the city commission, let them block traffic. And as a result, there was an ambulance call that was diverted 10 minutes to Sarasota Memorial Hospital, over an hour north into Bradenton. Couldn't get over the bridge because about 30 unlawful protesters. Now, if you support our police department, the first thing you do is no permit. You put those kids in bracelets and put them through the system. You put them in on the weekend. Don't let them get arraigned until Tuesday. And I guarantee you'll straighten them out. This is no hugging and kissing SWAT, ridiculous, right? Social workers against violence nonsense. This is a real situation. This is safety. This is law and order. Our population is about 57 years old on average. I'm 60. I most certainly can't get mixed up with a 20-year-old thug and who has a gun. I just don't want it down here. If they want that in Portland, that's their business, but don't bring it here. And our law enforcement needs to be supported. And as a community, we need to get behind the law enforcement. I love your flag, Gerry, with the blue line. That's awesome.
To touch on that, just to let everybody know, I didn't plan this. We didn't plan to all have American flags. This is the kind of patriots we all are. And that's right. What I personally think in my heart, that we all have this flag up because we love this country. And I know I love this country. Gerry, I've spoken to you numerous times. I know you love it. Linda, from the few conversations we had, I know that you're a patriot. I know how much you love this country. And then we have rags like CNN that show last night an American flag burning on their 8 o'clock newscast. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that CNN, MSLSD, and the rest of them put on TV. An American flag burning, which drives me insane. In this country,
on American soil, Gerry, on American soil. This is not 1980 in Tehran, where they were burning the American flag, and it was disgraceful enough. This is occurring on American soil. I don't go for it.
Linda, any opinion on that?
Well, I think it's unfortunate that these people who are doing this have clearly not traveled. You know, when you go to other countries, you better have your passport, you better be there illegally, or you're going to be put in jail. Mm-hmm. And you do not mess with the police, because just like you said, Gerry, they'll do whatever they want to. So there are some countries where, because you're a foreigner, if you have an accident, It's automatically your fault because you don't belong there to begin with. So these people that are doing this are, one, I strongly suspect paid, but they have no understanding of how truly appreciative they should be of this great nation, of this democracy. If they want to make changes, there are ways to make changes. Make them in the framework we have, because we've given that for people who need to make changes, who want to make changes, but they do have to convince people that those changes need to be made, and they're not made with guns and violence and keeping people from getting to the emergency room. You're exactly right. It's not just the fact of burning something down or throwing a bomb or throwing a firecracker or blinding a policeman with a laser. It's also interfering with the ability to get people the care that they need. Police department, fire department, if they can't get somewhere, then it's a problem. It's not violence, but it's a hazard to our people, and we just have to think about that all the time.
100%. We got about 5 minutes left, and I want to finish up with this. And Gerry, we'll start with you. Give me a couple of minutes and tell me about who you're running against and what separates you from them.
Well, in my race, what we have is there's 6 candidates, which is starting out with a muckety-muck situation, which tells you right out from the beginning that everyone agrees we need change. The problem is I'm running against 3 recycled politicians, and that's not good. I think that here in the city, we need to bring fresh ideas, new ideas, and bring a common sense approach to dealing with it. Because if we replace the seat that I'm going for with a recycled politician, nothing's going to change. And then it turns out they're all intertwined with each other, which, you know, was hard to unravel, but I was able to unravel it. And we've been exposing it because I don't go for it. And honestly, I don't care what side of the table you're on. If you do something wrong and I catch you, I'm calling you out on it. And
rightfully so.
That you just have to be called out on it. And I think that's why at first the Republican Party didn't embrace President Trump, because he's a righteous man. He came forward and he said, this isn't right, that isn't right, and I am change. And that's exactly what he did, is he shook up the establishment. And that's what I'm hoping to do down here. And at the very least, people are now paying attention. 6 months ago, if you stopped someone on the street and you asked them who your 5 commissioners are, they couldn't name one. They couldn't name the mayor. Today, they all know I'm in the race.
Good. Thank God for that. Linda, on to you. Now, your opponent is Cindy Spray. And from what I see and the information that I have, is it true she changed? I think this is true. I mean, most of the information I put on here is true. She changed political parties back in 2015.
She did. And as a Republican, I'm always happy when somebody joins our party. But, you know, this position I'm running for, it's not representing all the people of Manatee. It's representing the Republicans. And I've been a Republican all my life, 40 years active in the party, as a pro-lifer, as a conservative physical person, as a Second Amendment person. I just can't imagine practicing what I believe in and not being a registered Republican. But that's not the complete issue. The complete issue, I think, is experience, and that's my campaign slogan. I'd love for everybody to go to my Facebook page, Linda Ivell, because experience counts.
Linda, can you say it one more time? Because I'm going to go after the Zoom call.
Linda Ivell, because experience counts. Because I want to be there to help candidates that are just now getting into politics and they want to know how things work. I want to open the door for people that haven't felt like there's a door open before. And what I really want to do is work hard and make sure that we increase the Republican registration in Manatee County and really every other county I can help with as well. I've done this job before. I was a press secretary in DC. I know that crazy bubble they can get in up there and not know what's happening in the real world. But I've done this in the state of Florida and Iowa. I've done campaigns all over the place. I want to help. I want to help empower conservative Republicans, and that's what I'll spend my time doing. I'm not giving up my salary to charity because I don't have a salary. This is a volunteer position, and I've put $20,000 of my and my husband's hard-earned money into this race because I think I'm better qualified than somebody who's only been active for 4 years. So it's 4 years experience, 40 years experience. And that's the message I'm trying to get out in a positive way. I don't want to be negative about it, but I think to the people supporting me, there's a clear difference, and they can see that. I hope they can see that.
I think it's very evident where the both of you stand, and I am happy to endorse the both of you. I think you guys are exactly what this party needs down here in Sarasota and Manatee County. We need a shakeup immediately, and I want to thank you both for coming on with me. I really appreciate it. We will be getting both of your names out there as much as possible. Gerry, before we finish, can you give us your social media platform real quick?
Yeah, it's electgerrywells.com.
All right,
and
perfect.
I'm on Facebook, and we're booming, and we're leading right now, Gerry. We're up 13 points is what I'm hearing.
Yes. Thank God.
So, Gerry, your election is August 18th, and if somebody wins by 51%, you win, right?
Yes.
Other than that, you go on to the general.
Right, which I'll be happy with, Linda, because I'll be happy if I can get my name on the ballot with President Trump.
Well, I might be visiting Sarasota after my election's on the 18th because only Republicans can vote. So I hope I'll be free after that, Gerry, and I'd be happy to help you.
Thank you so much. Well, you have my vote.
Thanks.
Well, thank you both for being here. I really appreciate it. And I'll be talking to both of you again really soon. Hopefully we could do this one more time before the local elections and remind everybody where they need to go and who they got to vote for. Gerry Wells, Linda Ivell, thank you guys so much. And this has been My Political Truth. Thank you everybody for joining me.